In 1965, American pickup trucks were tough, but some of them were also terrible. The Chevy C10 had a stiff suspension, a bouncy ride, and almost no interior insulation. Noisy, rough, and tiring. The Ford F-100 looked tough, but it lacked safety features, with drum brakes, no seat belts, and a steel interior. Comfort? Forget it. Driving one of these was like riding on a noisy tractor with a metal box around you. These trucks got the job done, just uncomfortable and unsafe. Are you ready? Let's get started. Dear viewers, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. Number 5, 1965 Chevrolet C10 Base Stepside. The steering on the 1965 Chevrolet C10 was vague and sloppy, especially at higher speeds or when maneuvering in tight spaces. This was a common issue with trucks of that era, but it made the C10 feel less responsive and harder to control compared to more modern trucks with power steering and more precise handling. When the truck wasn't carrying a load, the ride was bouncy and uncomfortable due to the stiff suspension. Designed for work and hauling, the suspension was better suited to carrying weight, and without it, the truck had a rough ride that could be tiring on longer drives. The inline-6 engine, while dependable and low maintenance, was noisy. It produced a constant engine drone, especially when cruising at highway speeds. The lack of modern soundproofing meant the noise permeated the cabin, giving the truck a noisy and unrefined driving experience. As the truck aged, rattles became a common issue. The loose panels, poor cabin insulation, and aging parts made it prone to developing unsettling noises, especially after a couple of years on the road. The drum brakes on the 1965 Chevrolet C10 were prone to fading, especially when carrying heavy loads or going downhill. Under hard braking conditions, e.g., descending steep hills, the brakes struggled to maintain effectiveness, making it harder to stop the truck safely. This lack of braking power could be dangerous in emergency situations. The truck's suspension and steering were designed to carry heavy loads, but when used as a light-duty vehicle, the handling was unpredictable, particularly under stress. The lack of stability under load made the C10 less secure in emergency maneuvers. The step-side bed design was practical for hauling cargo, and the truck was often appreciated for its ability to get the job done without fuss, even if it wasn't the most comfortable or safe vehicle on the road. Today, the C10 is a classic in the eyes of many, with enthusiasts restoring and modifying these trucks for both show and work. Number 4, 1965 Ford F-100. Straight 6, 3-speed manual. The F-100 was designed as a workhorse, meaning it had a stiff suspension that could handle heavy loads, but didn't prioritize comfort for everyday driving. Without a modern suspension design, the ride was bumpy, especially when empty or on rough roads, making for a less than pleasant driving experience. The 3-speed manual transmission in the F-100 had a column-mounted shifter that was vague and not as precise as later floor shifters. The rear suspension design, combined with the light rear end, made the truck feel twitchy at higher speeds or when cornering sharply. This made it tricky to drive in conditions that required precise handling or quick maneuvers. The straight 6 engine produced a noticeable engine drone, especially at highway speeds. Combined with the rough ride, this gave the F-100 a very unrefined driving experience, particularly on longer trips or when driving at sustained speeds. Poor sealing around the windows and doors allowed for substantial wind noise, especially at higher speeds. This contributed to a generally loud cabin with constant noise, making it uncomfortable for those who were used to quieter, more insulated vehicles. One of the biggest safety flaws of the 1965 Ford F-100 was that it lacked seat belts as standard equipment. The drum brakes on the F-100, though common at the time, were known for poor performance compared to modern disc brakes. Despite its shortcomings, the 1965 Ford F-100 became one of the most popular trucks of its era. It was known for being a tough, dependable workhorse, and it served as the backbone of many small businesses, farmers, and everyday laborers across the country. Number 3, 1965. International Harvester, C-1000. The C-1000 was built with a no-frills, industrial-strength mentality, which meant it had a sturdy but crude construction. While the build quality was durable, the design was very primitive, with components often borrowed from farm machinery, making it feel more like a tractor than a modern pickup. The interior was bare bones and lacked the comfort and style of its competitors. Basic, no-nonsense materials were used for the cabin, and features like upholstery or ergonomic seating were minimal at best. Drivers often had to make do with a stiff, uncomfortable seat and sparse cabin features. The suspension on the C-1000 was stiff, designed primarily to handle heavy loads and rough terrain. However, this made for a bumpy ride when not loaded, which wasn't ideal for daily driving or long-distance trips. The ride quality was considered uncomfortable for those not using it as a work truck. The International Harvester C-1000 was known for being louder than a cement mixer on a cold start. The engine, combined with the rugged build and industrial components, produced an ear-piercing noise when first fired up, which didn't quiet down much once the truck was running. This noise was particularly noticeable in colder weather when the engine was cold, adding to the overall raw, utilitarian feel of the truck. The C-1000 had minimal crash protection, with its construction not designed to absorb impacts effectively. The lack of crumple zones, side impact protection, or any advanced safety features meant that in a collision, occupants had a higher risk of injury. The truck's tall stance, combined with its stiff suspension and lack of modern stability features, made it prone to rollovers, especially when loaded or during sudden turns. This, combined with the basic seatbelt system and minimal cabin padding, made the C-1000 unsafe by modern standards, particularly in a crash or rollover scenario. Though far from refined, the C-1000 built a reputation for durability, and its ruggedness made it an enduring symbol of American industrial workhorses. Its primitive design may have been a turnoff for everyday drivers, but for the workforce, it was a dependable, no-nonsense vehicle. Number 2, 1965, Jeep Gladiator, J-Series Tornado engine, the Tornado 230 cubic inch inline 6 engine. Though innovative for its time, was plagued by reliability issues. It was prone to overheating, especially in warmer climates or when towing heavy loads. This made it difficult to maintain for long-term use. The Tornado engine's complexity added to the maintenance burden, and it was eventually replaced by more conventional designs in later Jeep models. The Tornado engine had a noticeable clattering noise, especially at high RPMs, which could become annoying during long highway drives. This clatter was due to the engine's design and the stress it would often undergo under load. Another contributing factor to the noise was the transfer case, which had a tendency to whine at highway speeds. Combined with the engine clatter, this gave the Gladiator a loud and rough driving experience, especially on longer trips. The Jeep Gladiator had poor stability on the road, particularly when carrying heavy loads or during high-speed maneuvers. The truck's high center of gravity, combined with its less-than-ideal suspension design, made it prone to tipping or losing control in sharp turns or during evasive maneuvers. The electrical system was problematic, with frequent issues such as faulty wiring, poor connections, and unreliable lighting. In a truck like the Gladiator, where dependability was key for off-roading and work purposes, the electrical issues made it a potentially dangerous vehicle, particularly in remote or off-road settings. Despite these flaws, the 1965 Jeep Gladiator became known for its off-road capability and toughness. It had a strong presence in the work truck and military markets, where durability was more valued than comfort or refinement. Later models would improve upon these shortcomings, especially with new engines and a more stable chassis. But the 1965 Gladiator still stands as a part of Jeep's rich legacy in the pickup truck world. Number 1, 1965, Dodge D100, base model. The base model of the Dodge D100 was equipped with a rough suspension system that provided an uncomfortable ride, especially on uneven surfaces. Load-bearing capacity was a key strength, but it came at the expense of ride quality, making it unpleasant for everyday driving. The drum brakes were prone to fade under heavy use, particularly when the truck was carrying a full load. With limited stopping power, the D100 struggled to stop efficiently, especially on longer trips or when driving downhill. Lacking power steering, maneuvering the D100 was tough, especially at lower speeds and in tight spaces. The lack of power assist made it a real struggle to steer, particularly for those not used to such an old-school feel. The drivetrain was far from refined, producing a lot of clunking noises during shifts and when under load. The truck lacked any real noise suppression, which resulted in an overly noisy driving experience, especially when accelerating or idling. The interior panels were not well secured, leading to constant rattling during driving. This only contributed to the overall sense of poor build quality. When fully loaded, the Dodge D100's handling was significantly compromised. The truck would often sway and feel unstable, especially in wet conditions or when making sharp turns. This was due to its soft suspension and poor weight distribution. In rainy or slippery conditions, the D100 was a dangerous proposition. The lack of modern tires, coupled with the truck's handling issues, made it more prone to skidding and losing control, especially with heavy cargo in the bed.